everyone. I'm glad to see you. Thanks for stopping by. I'm not getting anything out of this. I'm not asking for anything. I hope you get something out of this, though. I was going to go to sleep, but I said I've got to get this video out. It was published on October 7th, 2018. And they've got 82,000 plus views on here, almost 83,000. And I believe that it's for great reason. I don't bring much out on current events, but this here is one of the current events. If you look up here, you can see there's, it looks like two suns in the sky. And that's what's taking place right now. There's plenty of places all over the planet that are seeing this. They've been seeing it for quite some time. I've done a lot of research into Planet X, Nibiru. I do believe that it was the reason for the flood when it came by. I believe that, a lot of these different things, even for Moshe, with the plagues and everything that came down, the hail that came down, burning hail on Egypt and such. Days of Gideon there was a bunch of hailstones came down and wiped out an entire army. There's plenty of examples in scriptures and such that back these things up, and the reason why I want to endorse this here video by the WTF Files, I don't like their opening statements for the most part. They do use the F-word bomb, and if you're offended by that, just skip up a little bit past the beginning, because they don't use the words thereafter. I mean, it's a pretty decent interview. I like the WTF Files because they bring out a lot of interesting information. There's extensive use of people that the fella interviews and brings forth information from top officials even, of their field. And what he brings forth should really pique your attention. I've been bringing out for a while that, ever since I've been on YouTube back in 2013, that, if you can, every payday, put an extra bag or two of rice aside. Get a couple bags of dried beans if you need to, but you're going to need something, okay, if problems hit and stores stop. If the grid goes down, plain and simple, you're not going to be able to shop, because, it's not like the old days when I grew up where they could add things up. Everything's by code, and without electricity, they're not even going to be able to open the cash register drawers for you, let alone figure out how to make change. They don't know how to do that for the most part. They got the computer that tells them how much change you get back, and that's what they give you, and, with this Planet X coming in, I don't want anybody to be fearful, because all the weird weather patterns that are on the earth right now is because of this coming in. It's a frequency that this Planet X, this Nibiru, the destroyer, puts off this certain frequency. Whether you want to call it magnetics or what, it doesn't matter. It affects the brains in human beings. You've been seeing animals dying, birds just falling out of the air. The honeybees and things been dying, and they're trying to blame it on this climate change. Well, it's definitely a climate change, but the climate has changed on Mars, the climate's changed on Jupiter and Venus and all the planets. The climate has changed on all of them. They've registered that things have been heating up on all the planets as this Planet X has been approaching. And it comes around, they say, some will tell you, about every 300 years or so, Others will say 1,000 years. Others will say 3,000 years. But of course, how are they going to get these approximations unless they're actually looking at the texts of old civilizations and such, even from the Samaritans? They wrote about Planet X coming in, the devastation that it brought. The fellow that's being interviewed in this here particular video that I really ask y'all to take the time and watch it. It's only 38 minutes long. Most of my videos are longer than that. This is excellently edited and such. What the fella says is from what my research had shown in the past, what he's telling you. Okay, he's showing a fella that once had killed some aliens. In fact, they blew off his fingers, cut them off with a ray gun kind of thing, and it gutted him like a fish pretty much. But he did, you know, his life was spared. There were several Marines that wasn't. And they ended up just killing the guy not too long ago. You'll see him in the video, okay? I want you to watch it. Please do. It's going to tell you the things that you should expect. It goes hand in hand with many of the prophecies that speak of these things, and he even refers to it as Wormwood. Not that Planet X is the Wormwood itself, but it talks about, you know, it splashing down on the earth. And you'll see why it's going to take place. They know it's going to take place. They've been building all these underground bases for many years, stealing your tax dollars to protect themselves and their families while keeping you in the dark, leaving you out here, you know, and not caring at all. Once they lock those doors, they've got themselves taken care of, you know. So they're talking about putting this into martial law. So if they do so, you'll know that they needed to do it, so they'll be able to get down in those bunkers and such without really being noticed by anybody. But also with what James brings out on That's Impossible channel, where they've been stealing the sand out of the oceans. They know these things are going to take place. They've been working for many years to make it even worse. You know, they've been fracking the earth and everything else in these fault zones and everything, hoping that when it comes, it just knocks the tar out of all of us, and then those Georgia stones will ring a whole lot more true, where, you know, it talks about bringing down the population or maintaining the population at 500 million people, 500 million that is. So with this out the way, I do hope that you'll pray. Pray for, you know, all those that are of our King, that know him now, or that will know him. He says not to pray for the world. Pray for those that know our King, or will come to know our King. The rest are there just to test and try him. Test and try all of us. That's what they're there for this time around. Hopefully they'll make it into the second resurrection, which will be coming here in about 1,000 years, 1,001, 1,002, 1,000, whatever it is, when our King returns. But these events that you'll see from this Planet X will come about, and when they do, and everybody, and I'm not trying to, you know, be rude or anything, but those that believe in the rapture, that you're going to be taken out before the Great Tribulation starts, when you see the stuff come falling down from the sky, don't panic. Just remember where you heard it from, okay? And when you see that there isn't any rapture, if you'd like to figure out how to get salvation, please listen to my videos. I tell you in 3 sentences in almost every one of them. First one is to keep the 10 Commandments. The second one, to keep the 613 laws so that you can keep the 10 Commandments. And the third sentence is, put your entire trust in our King. That is the entirety of salvation. And I'm here to help you learn how to keep the laws, how to love the laws, because they're simply rules for the house, rules for the kingdom. Our Heavenly Father won't let you in there, without them. Hey, read Revelations chapter 22, verses 14 and 15. And it'll explain to you, what the qualification is in verse 14, because blessed will be those who keep His commandments. And the only way you can keep His commandments is by keeping the laws that define how they must be kept. So keep that in mind. Try to get yourself prepared a little bit here, because when Planet X does come by you, there's scriptures that it talks about, even in Isaiah chapter 24. It speaks about the earth is going to be broken in two. It's going to be split in half. And when it does that, scriptures like all knees will bow before our King in His coming. Yeah, when it does, I'll tell everybody, everything. You'll have cows, you'll have camels, you'll have goats, you'll have birds. If they're not in the air, when it hits, they'll be on their knees. Everyone's going to be on their knees, okay? There's going to be this hour of silence it speaks about. And that's what this fella here is going to explain, Just keep your ear open where he talks about how long it's going to be, our bombardment, from what their calculations are when we go through the tale of Nibiru. And it should bring open a whole lot of scriptures. Maybe it'll change some of the prophecies the way you looked at them. And that's why I say, knowing the prophecies doesn't really matter as much as knowing you got salvation when they come to pass. And men have been messing them up and guessing and poking at them for, thousands of years trying to figure them out. They still haven't. Usually, nobody really recognizes the prophecy came to pass until, after it took place. And then they say, oh, wow, I didn't quite see it like that. But look, this is what this, that prophecy was. So with these things in mind, please do watch this video. Get yourself some extra food. Put it away. Put it in your closet. Do what you got to do. Put it in some buckets with covers on. You get them from Walmart or whatever, even for like $2 or $3 for a bucket and a cover, and you put it on so you don't have, the bugs and such getting at your rice and your beans or whatever, or the mice. You're gonna need it. Okay. Right now, the 144,000 haven't been sealed yet. It's going to take a great calamity before they are, and it might be a while after that before they start turning, a couple loaves of bread and a couple fish to feed 1,000 or 1,000,000, So you're going to have to take care of yourself at first. Our King told us to prepare. Don't go hog wild, you don't have to get, $1 million worth, and you don't have to freak out. Just make sure you got some way to cook it. Propane stove. If you've got just electric, make sure you got something you can cook with. And water's going to be important too, It's, if you can get out of the city, man, out into the country, and any way you can do that with a well on your property or whatever, that would be ideal. And I say, may our King have mercy on us all. I love y'all. Let's do our best. Let's lift each other up. Keep each other in great spirits, Let's just do as it says. You'll recognize, a true disciple in these last days by the love they have toward one another. Don't be those that are offended now, because then you're going to have all these other problems and headaches going on. You don't want to be offended. You don't want to sin. Let's stop sinning, and we'll be protected. These things are not meant, for the sons and daughters of our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, nor the brothers and sisters to our King. This is for others. The fiery hail and such didn't fall on the Israelites. It fell on the Egyptians. And they were real close together. I'm sure, you know, Yahshua's got the Malakim. They're deflecting these things so they won't harm you, so don't be afraid. These things were talked about. Our king explained what is coming here shortly.